Perhaps you've seen it. Maybe in a dream.
Is this some sort of a dream?
Welcome to yet another MauLer response. Probably the last. In this one I will cover some of the themes of Dark Souls 2, and how much MauLer managed to pick up on them.
So, he begins the statement with describing Dark Souls 2's world as nonsensical and free associative. He then describes it as a nightmare. Now, the reason I have trouble accepting that word is that there is an element of horror to it, of narrative structure, when it's clear that you simply have corridors and then set pieces with no creativity in conjoining the levels, nor a recognition from the game itself that these things shouldn't be able to coexist. Let's be very straightforward about this.
In Drangleic, the flow of time is convoluted. Things shift and waver, twist and turn.
Long ago, when this very land was called something else. We say Drangleic now, but countless kingdoms have risen and fallen on this very spot. And this won't be the last. Oh no.
In Dark Souls 3 they've made it more obvious that space is convoluted, and that it already had been convoluted in DS2, by placing the Earthen Peak windmill directly in the highly convoluted Dreg heap. The windmill is literally the central piece of this area. But in this video I will focus on narrative structures and themes in Dark Souls 2 that play into this nonsensical world layout. The first theme is the dreamlike nature of Drangleic.
This is a limbo. A link between Drangleic and the outer world.
One of the first things we hear is that Drangleic is separated from the outside world, and that things betwixt is a portal between the real world and Drangleic. In DS1 there was already a pocket dimension that was related to a half-dragon crossbreed. In DS2 there is a narrative that suggests that Drangleic has been dreamt up as well, and that the Emerald Herald, who is also half-dragon, has been exiled to this pocket dimension and pulled us in, once we started to go hollow. The similarity between the Emerald Herald and Priscilla is further emphasized by the item descriptions of the peculiar doll and the aged feather.
I was born of dragons, contrived by men. By ones who would cozen fate herself. They are the ones who created me. Long have I awaited one such as you. One who might shatter the shackles of fate. One who can set me free. Bearer of the curse. It was my own manifestation that led you here. Then one day you will walk those grounds, without really knowing why.
But one day, you will stand before its decrepit gate, without really knowing why.
Drangleic is separated from the real world, and like most people in this fever dreamish dimension, we don't even remember how we ended up here.
We call this place MauLer. Not too special if you ask me. It's just the place where everyone seems to end up. They all end up here. All the ones like you.
Oh, by the gods, why the hell am I here? I was on a journey, and somehow ended up here.
But I don't know. I just sort of ended up here. I must have just wandered in. Drangleic. How is it that I ended up here? It's funny. I can't seem to remember. But for the life of me, I can't remember how I ended up here. It's as if I were drawn to the place. Or lured in. Oh, I don't know.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just daydreaming, I think. When I first came into this forsaken land, it was... a curse? Something about a curse. Inside the mansion, I found a strange map, like none I'd ever seen. I believe that it's a map of Drangleic. Now I'm traveling the land to prove it. Yes, that's it. That's why I came to the kingdom. Wait, no, that wasn't it. Then what? I don't seem to recall.
The Emerald Herald pulled us into this dimension, which might have been the world of boundless possibilities she imagined, but the more important theme is loss of memory and loss of self, caused by the undead curse.
This is relatively consistent. It's boring, but it's consistent. Areas take after each other one by one, connected by very weak corridor-like structures. There is no melting into each other like you would see in The Evil Within, Alan Wake, or Alice the Madness Returns, which are actual games about nightmarish content. There is barely any overlap, with some minor exceptions like things betwixt getting tangled up in shaded woods. Everything mostly lines up in a very linear way, and with the warping ability it didn't need to do anything else.
I like how he hyper-focuses on overlap, while ignoring all the other confusing ways in which the world connects to each other. He even uses the same clip later to make fun of the inconsistent world layout, when in reality this seems to be a deliberate way of getting the player to feel like their memory is fading. The curse slowly erodes one's memory, until even one's birthplace is reduced to a figment of a clouded past.
Home? Where is home?
My name is Lucatiel. I beg of you, remember my name, for I may not myself. I found my thoughts growing hazy. My memories are fading, oldest first.
Your past, your future, your very light.
The intro shows us losing the memory of our mother holding us as a baby, but we even forget how she looked like, but more importantly it also plays a trick on us by making it look like we are about to enter a building, but we are somehow already inside it. There seem to be many deliberate inconsistencies.
None will have meaning, and you won't even care. By then, you'll be something other than human.
All the nonsensical connections between areas instill a feeling of uneasiness, a subtle feeling of dread, as they mess with your subconscious understanding of direction and distance. This fits well into the dementia theme of the game, as it makes you question your memories and makes you feel like you are forgetting where you went and how long that path took. It immerses you more into the character, as it puts you into their shoes, as long as you do not go out of your way to verify that the game has been gaslighting you into questioning your memory. The changes in New Game Plus also re-emphasize that you cannot trust your memory, as things might just be different than you remembered them.
And in the opening areas, once again, we're following a strictly similar theme of reality to Dark Souls 1, only to give up on that at around the Lost Bastille.
Here he is talking about the fact that you can see some early areas from MauLer, but he's ignoring the fact that they deliberately mess with your senses of direction, orientation and scale, by looking as if they are very far away, but when you walk there it's like they are right around the corner.
However, once you add Aldia's Keep and Drangleic Castle, you'll find that they overlap quite awfully with the levels that already exist. There is a disgustingly incompetent overlap that shows these places can't exist side by side when viewing it from above, and it is very likely that they made the first half of the game and had the extra pathway and shaded ruins that led to Aldia's Keep prepared but didn't teleport you instantly to another area as they do in Dark Souls 1 to get to the Lord Vessel.
Or they did it to evoke a subtle feeling that something is wrong, when you subconsciously realize that all three roads lead to the same direction.
The funny part is that you never see this overlap in the design view in the actual world. As far as most players are concerned, the entire world is still making sense.
You might not see it, but you do feel it subconsciously.
He says the world is falling apart, which, once again, the world is fine structurally. There are a few broken pieces of rubble here and there, but everything is standing tall. The world isn't falling apart, it is just clownishly put together.
Oh, I should have listened to the warnings. This place is flippin' mental.
But what a strange place.
Calling it clownishly put together is just a negative way of interpreting it. Bomberguy's interpretation fits a lot more to the themes of the Souls series and especially of this game. The world does feel like parts of it are collapsing into each other, which could be because the world is a dream where space is convoluted, or because our character is losing their memory.
The longer I am here, the more madness I discover.
He says it's physically untrustworthy, which, again, what does that mean exactly? If we have no expectation of what's going to happen next, that anything could load up as soon as we enter into the new area, then what is there to be untrustworthy of? What I'm saying is that akin to a whole menu select design, there isn't expectation for anything. There isn't exactly anything physically untrustworthy about it.
Is he just pretending to be dense? Note how he just overlooks the point about the Overlook Hotel.
He ends with a question of how this could be interpreted as bad, but I'm more curious as to how it could be good, and he's going to explain it.
This anomaly is so utterly blatant that it could not have gone unnoticed in the set design and construction. The lights shining into Ullman's office would have to be positioned inside the walls of the surrounding hallway.
Seeing as how he just skipped past this point, MauLer seems to have missed the comparison to the impossible architecture of the Overlook Hotel in The Shining, where the same tricks were used to evoke similar feelings.
He then tops it off with embracing inconsistency. That is where most will not be able to continue his video, as he has literally just made an argument in favor of general design not making any sense. Which is contrary to his entire channel's goal of explaining why things make sense, why they are put together the way they are, why they work better when they are designed with forethought and a goal.
Young Hollow, how you grapple without falter with this dreadfully twisted world.
MauLer seems to think that things have to be objectively correct, even if deliberate flaws can be used as an artistic tool to immerse the player into a dreamlike world where memory loss is a central theme of the narrative.
Loss frightens me no end. Loss of memory, loss of self.
If you walk into the Earthen Peak windmill, and then hours or days later take the elevator up to Iron Keep, you might question your memory. Was the volcano closer to the windmill, or did you walk deeper inside than you thought? This will give you a similar feeling as the one your character is experiencing, but it seems that MauLer never considered this part of the narrative.
They tried to make it so things exist alongside despite being incredibly linear, but then created late-game areas in places that they already had areas, and they were squashed in no matter what cost it had to the world. It is a damn shame they opted for settling, and you can see it in other aspects. The world has interesting levels, but the way in which they connect is lazy and nonsensical. It does not assist the narrative whatsoever, as there is only one blatantly incompetent overlap in the map and you never see it in the game.
So to summarize, it seems that MauLer missed a lot of the narrative, as the themes of Drangleic existing in a parallel universe that might have been created in the imagination of the Emerald Herald, and the theme of Halloween causing memory loss and loss of self seems to have been too subtle for him.
And then he says Secret Sky Castle twice, as if it's something incredibly shocking when we've had many moments throughout the series that are awe-inspiring without the need to lack any sense of consistency in the world. And to be perfectly honest, stuffing a level with millions of in-flight creatures isn't exactly subtle. I prefer a more subdued approach myself, but that's not something we're discussing here, so let's continue.
And it also seems as if MauLer is some kind of robot that doesn't understand that art does not need to be objectively correct, but that imperfections like nonsensical connections and overlapping areas can be used to evoke feelings, like the subtle subconscious feeling you get when the world layout doesn't make sense by having connections between areas being much shorter than you had expected. This is playing a trick on your mind that makes you feel immersed into a character that is slowly losing their mind.
But the feelings of seeing this and the feelings of being surprised by the teleporting between inconsistent lands are just that. Subjective feelings. The objective argument that is actually being discussed is becoming skewed here in order to match his goal of proving that it is an alternate form of design and quite possibly a better one. In reality, as proven already, it is simply a moment in which the designers copped out and placed a series of structures in positions that didn't make sense where the lands previously did. This is just another thing that Harris fails to mention in his description of the land.
MauLer seems to have failed to consider that art can subvert geographical consistency in order to evoke feelings to support the obvious memory loss narrative that he missed.